Bank of Indonesia predicts e-commerce transaction to exceed 337 trillion rupiah. Management of Bank Syariah Indonesia to immediately carry out business transformation and strengthening. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from the business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Fajar Wayong, this is Market Headlines. Bank of Indonesia predicts e-commerce transactions in Indonesia will exceed 337 trillion rupiah in 2021. The central bank believes the digital economy will continue to increase along with limited mobility as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Bank of Indonesia predicts e-commerce transaction will continue to grow, reaching 337 trillion rupiah, or an increase of 32.2%. Deputy Governor of Bank Indonesia, Destri Damayanti, said that this figure is high compared to 2020. Where e-commerce transactions only reached 253 trillion rupiah. According to her, the development of a payment digitization system has an impact on people's preferences for digital technology. The increasing trend in the digital economy is also seen in the use of electronic money, which is also expected to increase. Bank of Indonesia estimates that the use of electronic money will increase by 32.3% to 266 trillion rupiah from the previous 201 trillion rupiah in 2020, while in digital transactions banking will increase by 19.1% to 32.2 trillion rupiah.
Ekonomi dan keuangan digital itu adalah sesuatu yang keniscayaan kalau di Indonesia ataupun di global. Dan kita melihat tren itu meningkat pesat sekali, sehingga kita perkirakan di 2021 untuk transaksi e-commerce dia akan menembus angka 300-an triliun di tahun 2021 dengan peningkatan sebesar 33,2%. Kemudian juga penggunaan uang elektronik juga akan meningkat secara pesat karena memberikan kemudahan dan kenyamanan, apalagi dengan mobilitas yang terbatas, maka transaksi dengan menggunakan uang elektronik itu menjadi sesuatu pilihan bagi para konsumer. Termasuk juga transaksi digital banking yang kita perkirakan terus mengalami peningkatan di tahun 2021.
Destri added that the increasing trend of the digital economy is also an optimism for the improvement of the national economy, where financial transactions are still taking place outside the conventional way. From Jakarta, Rizka Ayu for IDX Channel. The Indonesian E-commerce Association supports the government's plan to boost digital economy tax revenue. The association calls on taxes for e-commerce to be imposed when the business climate has recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. The digital economy, which is growing rapidly due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has made the government to boost tax revenue from the sector. E-commerce will also be the target of government tax revenue. General Chairman of the Indonesian E-commerce Association, Bima Laga, admits that he will support the government's plan. However, Bima hopes that the government will not create a one-sided scheme without involving e-commerce business actors.
Pemerintah dengan ini jika mempunyai rencana apapun mengenai pajak ekonomi digital, kita berharap dia bisa dilibatkan dan diajak diskusi. Selama ini kita berhubungan baik setiap ada sosialisasi peraturan baru, contohnya PMK 48 yang mengenai pajak transaksi dari luar negeri, itu kita selalu dilibatkan dan kita ada sosialisasi. Semoga jika pemerintah mempunyai wacana pajak tersebut, kita juga bisa diundang untuk diajak berdiskusi. Kita ingin memberikan masukan jika memang ada pajak mengenai ekonomi digital.
Bima added the tax discourse for e-commerce is still too early to implement, given the business climate which is still worsening due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For that, Bima hopes that the government will wait until the economy recovers from the pandemic to impose taxes on e-commerce. From Jakarta, Rizka Ayu, Dandi Bernardi for IDX Channel. The Minister of Finance emphasizes that the government does not impose new taxes on cell phone and electricity credit. Sri Mulyani explained that the issuance of Minister of Finance Regulation number 6 of 2021 is intended to simplify tax administration. The Minister of Finance ensures that there will be no increase in the price of cell phone or electricity credit due to the policies stated in the Minister of Finance Regulation number 6 of 2021. Minister of Finance Sri Mulyani explained that the regulation only simplifies the tax administration mechanism, namely value-added tax, to the income tax imposed for credit transactions up to electricity token. This simplification ensures that VAT and income tax on mobile phone credit or SIM cards, electricity tokens, and vouchers are already running, as well as providing legal certainty. Sri Mulyani alluded to the fact that the collection of VAT credit or SIM cards will only be done up to the second-tier distributor. Retail-level distributors who sell to end consumers don't need to collect VAT anymore.
Di mana distributor kecil dan pengecer itu justru mengalami kesulitan di dalam melaksanakan mekanisme PPN sebelum munculnya PMK ini. Nah, PMK ini tujuannya adalah menyederhanakan sehingga tidak membebani hingga kepada distributor kecil dan pengecer. Namun, pemungutan PPN itu hanya sampai pada distributor tingkat 2.
Meanwhile, for cell phone credit vouchers, VAT is not charged on the value of the voucher, but for sales or marketing services in the form of commissions or price differences obtained by selling agents. The same rules also apply to electricity tokens. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel. The Central Bureau of Statistics (BPS) revealed that the number of foreign tourist arrivals throughout 2020 was only 4.02 million visits. This figure has decreased by 75% on an annual basis compared to 2019. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, negative impacts occurred in the tourism sector and its supporting sectors throughout 2020. Throughout 2020, the number of foreign tourists was only 4.02 million visits, a drop of 75% when compared to 2019. Head of BPS Suharyanto explained there are still tough challenges for the tourism sector if this pandemic cannot be controlled. On a monthly basis, the number of foreign tourist visits in December 2020 was only 165,000 visits when compared to visits in November 2020, up by 30.58%. But when compared to December 2019, there was a steep decline of 88.08%.
Totalnya hanya 4,02 juta. Berarti terjadi penurunan sebesar 75% dibandingkan dengan jumlah wisman pada tahun 2019. Jadi kan ini nampaknya sektor pariwisata masih akan menghadapi tantangan berat selama pandemi belum terkontrol.
BPS explained foreign tourists who came in December 2020 were not for tourism purposes. Foreign tourists who came only for business, did tasks, and even had works visits from international institutions. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel. Market headlines will be right back. Stay tuned with us.
Kementerian Pariwisata dan Ekonomi Kreatif telah menyiapkan 3 program yang menjadi langkah awal untuk membangkitkan pariwisata di tahun 2021.
Pemerintah menegaskan bahwa di awal tahun 2021 ini tetap fokus pada aspek kesehatan masyarakat.
Kita melihat bahwa tren positif itu terjadi karena pertumbuhan kuartal ke kuartal itu sudah di 5,05%.
Pemerintah memastikan akan mengubah bantuan sosial di wilayah Jabodetabek dari skema bantuan sembako menjadi bantuan langsung tunai.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. IHS Markit announced that Indonesia's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, in January 2021 was at 52.2, up from December 2020 at 51.3. Regarding this, the Minister of Industry appreciated industrial players who were still producing, thus lifting the Indonesia's manufacturing PMI.
IHS Markit announced that Indonesia's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index in January 2021 was at positions 52.2. That figure is up from December 2020 at the level of 51.3. Indonesia's manufacturing PMI has shown an increase for the 4th consecutive months. In addition, the latest increase in the whole sector is the fastest in 6.5 years, and at the same time, the biggest since the survey conducted in April 2011. IHS Markit explained that a solid expansion and an accelerating rate of new orders were recorded during January. This is reflected in a third increase in the number of new business, the strongest since July 2014. Meanwhile, regarding this positive data, the Minister of Industry Agus Gumiwang Kartasasmita appreciated the industry players who were still producing so that they raised the Indonesia PMI's manufacturing and hope that this positive trend will be maintained. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Viewers, of course, the increase in Indonesia's PMI manufacturing is promising amidst the massive economic recovery efforts being undertaken. Is it enough just by increasing PMI data, or are there still other challenges? Let's just review it in the following graphics. We're going to the first graphic related to the data of Indonesia's PMI manufacturing. So in the graphic, you can see that the Indonesian manufacturing PMI in 2020 and also January 2021. The Indonesia's manufacturing PMI experienced contraction in early 2020, while on January, the PMI on 49.3 and then increased to 51.9 on February. But in March, April, and May, the PMI decreased to 54.3, 27.5, 28.6, and then on June, July, August, the manufacturing PMI increased 39.1, 46.9 and 50.8, and the positive momentum happened on the last 2020 on September, October, November, and December. 4 consecutive months, Indonesia's manufacturing PMI inclined, and then on January 2021, the PMI at the level of 52.2. The increase in Indonesia's manufacturing PMI indicates an accelerating expansion in the manufacturing sector. This condition also shows an increase in demand, which also affects the increase in production activity. It means that Indonesia's manufacturing PMI has been increasing for the 4th consecutive month, with increase at the beginning of this year being the fastest in the last 6.5 years. The index achievement at the level of 52.2 was also the highest since the survey began in April 2011. Andrew Harker, Director of Economics at IHS Markit, said that Indonesia's manufacturing sector is still on a recovery path in early 2021. With a positive PMI manufacturing data, is it supported by the realization of investment in the Indonesian manufacturing sector? Let's check the data in the next graphic. So it is investment realization on Indonesia's industry sector. In 2020, the realization reached 272.9 trillion rupiah, or 33% of total national investment realization. The number of realization on industry sector grew by 26% year-on-year, while the top sector destination are food and beverage industry, basic metal industry, automotive industry, and electronics industry. The data is taken from Ministry of Industry. The industrial sector consistently contributes significantly to the national economy through the realization of investment. Throughout 2020, manufacturing investment was able to show a positive achievement, even in the midst of a heavy hit due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The confidence of national industry players to continue to expand is reflected in the achievement of domestic investment. In the manufacturing sector in 2020 amounting to 82.8 trillion rupiah, or grew 14% compared to 2019. In addition, Indonesia is still considered to be an investment destination for global industry players. This can be seen from the achievements of foreign investment in the manufacturing sector in last year, amounting to 190.1 trillion rupiah, or increased 33% compared to the achievement in 2019, which touched 143.3 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, amid signs of economic recovery, one challenge has emerged from the side of inflation and weakening purchasing power. And let's check the data in the next graphic. So it's Indonesia's consumer price index month on month. We can see from January to December 2020, the inflation remained low, and even on July 2020, Indonesia recorded deflation at 0.1%, and August 0.05% deflation, and in September 0.05 deflation, or we can see it minus if we see it from the inflation side. And then on the last months of 2020, on October 0.07%, 0.28% in November, and December 0.45%, it still remained low. And even on January 2021, the inflation or consumer price index only 0.26%, or even lower than December 2020. Head of BPS Suharyanto explained that inflation in January still showed weak demand. The annual inflation rate is 1.55%, lower than December 2020 at 1.68%. He stated that the impact of COVID-19 has not subsided and has overshadowed the economies of many countries, including Indonesia. Mobility is reduced, the economy is moving slowly, and this affects both income and demand. At the same time, core inflation also weakened year-on-year to 1.56%. Meanwhile, in December 2020, the core inflation was 1.6%, and in January 2020, core inflation was 2.88%. And if we look at this data, annual core inflation is experiencing a slowdown, which indicates that domestic demand is still weak. So which cities and sectors contributed to the realization of inflation in January 2021? The data is in the next graphic. So in the graphic, we can see the monitored cities. The highest inflation occurred in Mamuju with 1.40%, the lowest inflation in Balikpapan and Ambon with 0.02%, while the deflation highest in Baobab minus 0.92%, and the lowest deflation occurred in Pontianak with minus 0.01%. And then the inflation contributor came from the first one is food, beverage, and tobacco, and then provision food and beverage or restaurants, and the third one is personal care and other services, and the fourth is health and housing, water, electricity, and household fuels at the top 5 inflation contributor. So Finance Minister Sri Mulyani explained that inflation last month occurred due to supply disruptions, especially natural disasters that occurred in a number of regions. For this reason, according to her, the government will ensure smooth connectivity between regions so that the flow of goods and services returns smoothly. On the other hand, the governor of Bank Indonesia, Periwarjo, explained that inflation in January was caused more by disruptions of supply due to the disaster. Meanwhile, from the demand side, national production is still much higher. He estimates that inflation will improve this year and will be in the range of 2% to 4% in line with the improving economy. Yes, viewers, hopefully the efforts for economic recovery will continue in synergy among all stakeholders. And stay tuned on market headlines. We'll be right back after the break with information from the capital market.
I'm Associate Producer and News Presenter on Market Headlines. as market headline starts at 4:30 p.m., which is in line with the closing market. Therefore, we summarize market conditions only for you. And my job in here as a journalist, I give concise and accurate news for the audience. And also, being a journalist is not only a job for me, but it is also a passion.
Welcome back on Market Headline. We're in the last segment. After being inaugurated by President Joko Widodo, President Director of Bank Syariah Indonesia, Hery Gunardi, revealed that he not only had the task to merge 3 banks, but he also had to immediately carry out business transformation and strengthen human resources.
The process of merging 3 state-owned Sharia banks finally found a new chapter. After being inaugurated by President Joko Widodo, Bank Syariah Indonesia is able to operate. President Director of Bank Syariah Indonesia, Hery Gunardi, revealed that the merger process was running smoothly, both from the due diligence process, signing the merger note, and obtaining permission from OJK. Besides that, the use of the name Bank Syariah Indonesia is expected to represent Indonesia in the world. At the same time, he emphasized that his job is not only to merge the 3 largest Islamic banks in Indonesia, but he must immediately carry out business transformations, strengthen risk and management, strengthen human resources, and strengthen digital.
Kami sadar bahwa tugas kami bukan hanya sekedar menggabungkan 3 bank ini, melainkan dalam waktu yang bersamaan juga melakukan transformasi seperti perbaikan proses bisnis, penguatan risk management, penguatan dari sisi sumber daya insani, serta penguatan teknologi digital.
Based on the financial reports per December 2020, Bank Syariah Indonesia has total assets of 240 trillion rupiah, then a financing value of 157 trillion rupiah, third-party funds of 210 trillion rupiah, and a core capital of 22.6 trillion rupiah. From Jakarta, Gilang Praditya for IDX Channel.
Poultry company Malindofit Mill has prepared a capital expenditure budget of $15 million. The capital expenditure budget will be used by the company for factory expansion. Poultry company Malindofit Mill has prepared a capital expenditure budget of $15 million. The capital expenditure budget will be used by the company for factory expansion. The company will also continue the construction of a feed factory in Lampung, which has been delayed. The issue of land for the construction of factory with an investment value of 1.1 trillion rupiah in Lampung has stalled since 2014. Malindo's management ensures that the construction process has been running. According to Andreas Henjan, Corporate Secretary of Malindofit Mill, the company ensures that the factory will start operating soon by the end of this year. With the presence of a new factory, Malindofit Mill aims to increase its animal feed production capacity to 1.8 million tons per year. Meanwhile, although the market conditions for animal feed and broilers had dropped due to weakening purchasing power due to impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, Malindofit Mill is optimistic that animal feed will contribute 70% to sales this year. From all sources, for IDX Channel. Urban Jakarta Propertindo is preparing a capital expenditure of up to 1 trillion rupiah in 2021. The budget is planned to finance project development and acquisition of property portfolio development.
Urban Jakarta Propertindo is preparing a capital expenditure of up to 1 trillion rupiah in 2021. The budget is planned to finance project development and acquisitions of property portfolio development. President Director of Urban Jakarta Propertindo Bambang Sumargono stated that funding will come from internal funds, funding from banks, as well as planned for project cooperations with several partners. In addition to continuing the development of existing projects, Urban Jakarta Propertindo, which has been focused on working on transit-oriented development projects, will carry out new expansion targeting new segments, namely landed house and low-rises. Throughout this year, the company is optimistic that it can continue to boost the company's performance. The company to carry out sales activities as usual, coupled with starting to explore other marketing strategies, namely digital marketing and other marketing channels. From all sources for IDX Channel.
And viewers, the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business, and capital market channel. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening and stay safe.